Kethevane, first of all, tell us your understanding of the timeline now. We know Joe Biden is to speak a little bit later on today, but for the moment, silence in the White House.
Definitely silences in the White House. We have now heard from the White House poolers, those reporters that follow the president, that the president is actually on his way back from his golf course, where he spent pretty much a big part of the morning since the news of Joe Biden's election came in. And so he's returning to the White House. But so far, the only things we saw were just a couple of tweets before the call for Pennsylvania was made, where Donald Trump was actually claiming that he had won the election. We are mostly hearing from his team, from his legal advisors. There was a press conference in Pennsylvania earlier with Rudy Giuliani and two other legal advisors. We're hearing also plenty from his sons, Eric and Donald Jr., but the president himself not speaking so far. No information from the White House. I was just checking to see if there were any remarks or addresses planned. So far, no changes to the president's schedule. So we might just simply not hear from Donald Trump right now. There are some reports from the White House on U.S. media that the team around the president is trying to get the president to come to terms with the calls by all the networks here in the United States about Joe Biden being the president-elect. But Donald Trump seems to be intent on using all the legal options that he has in order to challenge whatever he can in this election.
Kethevane, we're looking at images as you're talking to us of the scenes on the roads near the White House right now. Apparently, supporters of Joe Biden filling the streets to celebrate. What is your understanding of the mood in D.C. at the moment?
Well, as we heard, my colleague François Picard was actually on Black Lives Matter Plaza. It seemed like a real party there. Earlier on, when I was actually on air, coming on air, when the call was first made, even in the neighborhood where I am, which is usually pretty calm, I could hear a few firework type noises and people just honking their horns as they were driving by in this area. And people have just gathered outside of the White House. And remember, this has now become a very symbolic location, because it used to be that people could get close to those barriers by the White House on Lafayette Square, which is the square right across from the White House. That square has been blocked off, barricaded after the death of George Floyd and the protest, the Black Lives Matter protest over the summer. And throughout the summer, with the pandemic, with the protests, we saw those barricades grow higher, grow wider, and really block off more and more of that Lafayette Square. But then there was that Black Lives Matter Plaza. That's 16th Street. That's the street heading straight into the White House. And that was renamed Black Lives Matter Plaza by the mayor of Washington, D.C., Muriel Bowser. And it has become a sort of gathering point whenever something important happens. And this is where everybody is focusing on. That's where people in D.C. are congregating. We saw some images, I'm sure that you're showing some images there, of people celebrating, dancing, chanting, music, and that's really the atmosphere here. Let's remind our viewers that Washington, D.C. is extremely and overwhelmingly leaning Democratic. I think the latest numbers that I saw were about 93 or 94% voting for Joe Biden, so that can explain the scenes we're seeing in Washington.
All right, Kethevane Gorjestani, our Washington correspondent.